guys? Welcome to my first ever podcast for the Mental Corner. For everyone who recommended it and who said they would listen in, thank you so much for the idea. I appreciate it. And for those who said no, too bad. You're going to get it whether you like it or not. So I'm not going to edit anything out of this. It's just going to be straight through. So please bear with me if there are any awkward silences. This is my first podcast ever. But I really appreciate you guys joining in and listening to what I have to say. It means a lot. So we're going to get right into it. Before I get into the topic I wanted to cover today, I guess I'll go over a little bit about how this week's been for me personally. Everyone's in self-isolation, so there isn't much to do. I tried a juicing diet, started today, ended today. That was horrible. I don't think I could sustain that. So if you can, kudos to you, but that's not for me. What else happened? Moved most of my stuff out of my Guelph house and moved it into my dad's house because school's done. And that's it for me. I'll be back to school next semester, but only online. So my university year is done. And the 4 years just kind of ended like that, which was not exactly how I expected it to go, but I mean, everyone's in the same boat, so there's not much to complain about. Other than that, just watching a ton of movies. I feel like I don't even have to ask this, but have you guys seen The Tiger King? Because wow, my dad and I watched it, loved it, watched it twice within the span of 2 days. I started watching it again with my mom until I realized, what am I doing here? Like, I got to pick a different show. But wow, what a whirlwind. I'm not particularly fond of how they treated the animals, obviously. The Toronto Zoo counselor in me kind of was screaming internally, but man, what a whirlwind. I couldn't keep up. It was insane. Also, shout out to Carol Baskin, who killed her husband. But that's neither here nor there. Other than that, just trying to, wrap my head around the craziness that's been going on. I've been trying not to look at the news too much, which my dad has a nasty habit of doing, because the news tends to only highlight the sick and the dead, which, for a time like this is just not needed for anybody. So I'm trying to stay away from that, trying to focus on myself, my family, my health, and kind of just this YouTube channel with you guys. I found out a couple days ago that my Costa Rica trip, which I was supposed to leave for at the end of April, will not be happening. The flight got canceled officially. I was supposed to go to Costa Rica to volunteer at a wildlife sanctuary, and I'm just not going to be able to do it. And yeah, it sucks, and I've been hyping it up for a really long time, so I'm really upset about it. But, I'd rather not focus on the upsetting stuff right now. So before I get too into my topic, I want to think of things that I'm personally thankful for, because I feel like the news and everyone is just kind of focusing on the negatives as opposed to some of the positives that are going on. And I know a lot of people don't have very many positives, so I kind of want to just focus on mine, because I know despite, the misfortunes, I'm a very fortunate guy in a situation like this. So in terms of being thankful, like, I'm thankful for, being with my family, my health, my dog, my cat, my education, my friends, and the social media for, giving me the opportunity to connect with you guys and with all my family. Like, that's super important. And, whether or not like this summer's canceled or anything, at least we still have each other to connect with and talk to, because it's not social isolation, it's more like physical isolation. So we may be stuck in our houses and we may be, banned from any big group meetings, but we still got each other through, texting and messaging. So that's definitely something to be thankful for. So now that that's kind of covered, I wanted to focus primarily today on some things I've been hearing, not just from you guys, but also from the news and from other people like that I've walked by from and stuff like that. So I wanted to really focus on the effects that this isolation has on people with mental health issues. And I guess I'll start for me personally. Uh, I've I've had a really hard time falling asleep or focusing on anything because this pandemic kind of just stopped all my plans to a dead halt. And I am, if you know me, like I am definitely someone who likes having a plan. Like I if something in my plan goes wrong, I freak out. Like I get super anxious. So I like knowing what's coming. And when I don't have that plan, I start to feel super restless. And all my plans kind of just went out the window with this pandemic. So, like yes, I'm fortunate, but it also sucks because now I have no plan and I have, all the things I prepared for are gone out the window, and just being the person I am, I got to figure out a way to calm myself down and just kind of buckle up for the ride. Even though that's like for me personally, it's like the hardest thing to do. Not knowing when we're gonna find a cure or when this isolation is going to end, because you hear all the rumors and you hear like, oh, it's going to be like June, it's going to be, September, it's going to be early 2021, which I hope not. But there's no solidified not due date, like solidified time that it's going to be ended. And not knowing that is super stressful and kind of keeps me restless throughout the day. And in relation back to the Tiger King, I kind of feel like a tiger in one of Joe's cages, because I just don't know what the next day is gonna be, and kind of just I I am kind of lazy, but after like a month of doing nothing in the house, I'm just going insane. Like I need to do something. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. What I've been noticing in like the media, as in like Twitter and Instagram and stuff, not only do I notice that a lot of people aren't following the self isolation stuff, I've noticed a lot of people complaining about how bored they are and that they're just going to go out because they're so bored. Now, I'm bored too. I'm not saying you don't have to be bored because, you know, we're all bored right now. We're in our houses. Like, there's only so much you can do throughout a day. But being bored is different than acting on that boredom and going out and seeing people. When I'm, driving, I was driving to my mom's house today. There was a group of people playing basketball. There was another group of people like all hanging out together, all like super close, hugging. And that really bothers me, excuse me. That really bothers me just cuz I get that you're bored, but you got to think about other people in this situation. Like, we're all in the same boat, and we all have to play our own part for this self-isolation stuff. Like, it sucks, I know. And I had plans, to go to Caravana, to go to Veld. I was going to go to Pride, like all these parades and everything. I was going to do all this fun stuff with my friends who I hadn't seen in a long time. But, at the end of the day, like, you got to you got to play your part. And if we're going to get through it, like, everyone's got to play their own part. So seeing that stuff really aggravated me. And I think what bothered me the most about it is that, like, I've talked to a bunch of people about their views on this pandemic, and I've been looking at, a lot of articles about this pandemic and kind of just reading up on people's situations. And, people around the world have so many things to worry about, a ton of people were laid off jobs, and that can, cause them to become increasingly suicidal and depressed. Single mothers and fathers of young children now need to worry about, not just providing for their kids, but keeping them occupied as well. Like, young children, like, at home all the time. I can't even imagine how stressful that is. There are instances, where partners involved in domestic and spousal abuse don't really have an escape right now because they're kind of just locked in the house with, their partner. Some families have even been split up because some members were quarantined and others weren't. I a really good friend of mine, he lives in England, and I know that his girlfriend needs to self-isolate for, oh, I'm going to get this wrong. I believe it's 12 weeks because she has an autoimmune disorder and she can't come in contact with anybody. And, he's allowed to see her and her family's allowed to see her, but they can't be within 6 feet. So it's stuff like that. Like, I have another friend, and he reached out to me on Instagram when I did a kind of like a, hey, let's talk about how you're doing with this pandemic. He reached out to me and he was talking about how he had just come back from his university out east, and the time difference has been like a huge factor in how he's feeling, because not only does he have to deal with this pandemic, he also has to deal with the time change, and he's also got to deal with online classes like we all do. And it's a lot to put on someone's plate. You talk to like the athletes who were preparing for big meets this summer. We're preparing for the Olympics that were supposed to be this summer, and they just don't know what to do. Like the motivation's kind of gone down, which is super unfortunate. I know some people who are going to play sports in the fall, and now they're saying that the fall semester might not even happen for school. So it's just a bunch of unknowing and a bunch of, anxious waiting all the time. So going back to what I was talking about, like we're all in this together. And I know, sometimes you feel like you're alone in the restlessness, and you feel like, oh, I shouldn't complain about how I'm feeling because people have it way worse, but everyone's going through it. So if you're feeling alone, like just remember that everybody's going through this little anxious period. We're all like sitting and waiting and listening to the negative news out there. Yeah, but to the people who, think that it's okay to go out and it's okay to play basketball or, go party or go hang out with your friends because, oh, I'm young, it doesn't, affect me. First of all, that's not true at all. There are so many instances where young, healthy people have gotten it and have said it's like the worst illness they've ever gotten. An Olympic swimmer, his name's Cameron Vanderberg. Huge fan of him, by the way. Both breaststrokers. Shout out to him. South Africa. He said he said it was the worst illness he's ever gotten. And if someone that young and that healthy can get it, like you can't think you're invincible. And even if your immune system's good, and even if you're young and healthy, you can transmit that disease to older people who like may not have such a strong immune system. And if you seriously think that just because you're able to fight it off yourself, that gives you an excuse to go out and, cure your boredom by ignoring social distancing, like that part I just don't understand. And so I feel like the major thing that we got to focus on, for the next couple weeks at least, next couple months, if this thing wears out or this thing drags out that long, is one word, and that's compassion. Because yeah, you're bored, and things suck. They do, but we have to have compassion for each other, because right now, while we're stuck in our houses and we're not sure about what's going to happen, we need each other more than ever. And like we need each other more than ever, and we got to be compassionate towards one another, because you never know what everyone's going through. So like if you see someone on social media or talking to you saying how they're having a rough time, like you got to be compassionate towards them, because you just don't know. You never know. And right now, that's all we can do. We got to sit here. We got to wait it out. We got to be compassionate towards one another. We got to let everyone know that no one is alone in this. Like, we're all in it. And yeah, I have no idea what the future holds, but I mean, yeah, it's scary. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. It's my first podcast, so it's not going to be that long, but it's just something that's been bothering me the last couple weeks just because, you know, I've been seeing people out acting like this thing isn't happening. And I know people that go out and pretend this isn't happening, and it's been really bothering me. And I know it's been bothering a lot of, my peers and my family. So I felt like it just needed to be said, and I felt like it was an appropriate time to kind of voice my opinion on it. But I'm really hoping, man, like I really hope we can figure this out, because not even like, forget like all my plans for the summer and stuff. It's just like, it's not even about that. I just hope for everyone's sake we can figure it out, find a vaccine, and kind of just get back to normal. Because like, yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore, because like obviously no one right now has ever gone through something like this, so we're kind of all in the same boat of confusion. But anyway, that before I rant too long, that's all I've got to say. So I'm gonna, on that note, that's the first podcast. Thank you guys for listening in. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna try to do one of these every week, and then sorry, I'm probably saying a lot because my mind doesn't work very fast. But yeah, just spread the podcast around. We're gonna try to make this a big thing. The H panel on YouTube will still be going on. I will still be interviewing people because I feel like that's a super important message. But as for the personal discussions and the vlogs and stuff, I'm gonna kind of convert that to this podcast because I feel like it's more effective this way. And some of you guys wanted it, so there's no reason why I shouldn't do it. Other than that, be sure to spread this around. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube. I'm going to make an announcement soon. My birthday is on the 13th of April, and I've got a really big goal, but I don't know if I can do it. We're going to try to get it, though. So I'll be posting about that soon. Yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening, and I really appreciate you guys. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy through this confusing time, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you. This is Harry, and you're listening to The Mental Corner. See you next week.